Hey guys, how y'all doing? I'm here to give you guys a recap on the new chapter of Nanatsu no Taizai, or you can call it the 7 Deadly Sins, which is on chapter 255. Now, this chapter right here was actually pretty cool, not too bad, and to see what the heck what was going on, although I could see a lot of people maybe complaining a little bit of what's been going on here, especially what happened in this chapter, and I do have to somewhat agree with them because of what's been going on. So if anything else, let's get this recap started. We have to it that Merlin wants to go rescue King Arthur on her own, while the 7 Deadly Sins are against this idea, and Escanor pretty much tells Merlin like, I'm against this. There's no point of you placing yourself in danger for a little kid who can't even look after himself. And of course Merlin gets really mad and glared at him, with Escanor unable to say anything. And Hawk therefore tells Merlin like, why do you go so far to support Arthur? He hasn't even awakened his magic power yet. And Escanor's like, exactly. So what's the point? You didn't even know about that, as Hawk tells Escanor. And we had to it that Merlin explains that Arthur was chosen by the holy sword Excalibur to one day lead Britannia. He is the child of hope. And it switches to a scene with King Arthur standing before Meliodas, Zeldris, along with Chandler and Cusack with his holy sword Excalibur. And we had to it that Chandler asked, who is that guy? And Cusack's like, just an intruder. And we had to it that like Meliodas compliments Arthur by saying, you got a good eye. It's almost like you're completely different when you're on the verge of tears, unable to protect Merlin. Even Arthur tells the same thing to Meliodas. And he therefore says, you are no longer the Meliodas that I knew. And then Meliodas is like, you can't be really serious about taking us all on. You know that, right? And we have to it that he just smiles in great confidence. And Zeldris asks his older brother, like, do you know of that strange aura that Holy Sword's giving off of? And Meliodas says, who knows? It's neither of the Demon Clan or the Goddess Clan. And therefore, we had to it that Arthur announces by saying, Meliodas of the Demon Clan and those who follow him, I shall slay thee and reclaim the kingdom. And therefore everyone gets ready for battle, and Chandler makes his first move and says, you got a big mouth for a human, you know that? And use Exterminate Ray on him. But apparently all of a sudden, after using Exterminate Ray, Chandler gets his head cut off in an instant, and everyone's like, what the hell just happened? And we had to it that Arthur says, okay, let's get something to eat after we're done here. And therefore, Arthur came unscathed. Even Cusack's like, what the hell did you just do? And even Zeldris is saying, like, that sword technique he just used right now, I know I've seen it somewhere, and I seem to remember it. Arthur, on the other hand, sees Kath and cuts Cusack's arm off that was holding him and saves him and says, I'm sorry that you went through all this for me. And Kath calls Arthur's name, and therefore Cusack was really shocked and says, why do you know that swordsmanship? And later on he gets cut like halfway of his body and then falls to the ground. And we have to it that Arthur uses a sword technique to blast himself out of there and tells Kath to state, let's get something to eat after we're done. And Zeldris tries to attack him, but Arthur just blocks his attack without even looking at him and keeps blocking his swordsmanship. And therefore, Zeldris realizes that swordsmanship is the dance of Avida, which apparently is known to be a term of like meaning ignorance, delusion, or unlearned. And Zeldris says, I know that technique. It's actually used by a blind human swordsman long ago, capable of countering any manner of surprises attack. But how is it that you know it? And Arthur tells Zeldris like, I already told you not to underestimate humans. And he therefore uses Death Pecker on Zeldris and pushed him back. We have to it that Meliodas and Zeldris are talking to each other about the sword techniques. And we have to it that Zeldris says that I've seen that technique. It's actually used by the War King Tartanos. And We have to it that Meliodas also explains that the technique used on Cusack and Chandler is a split image of the celebrated human master swordsman Carfin. And then like Zell just goes like, it seems like we seem to understand who the hell he really is. And we have to it that Arthur explains to Zeldris and Meliodas by saying, I was told by Merlin about this sword that it was so powerful that it should not be wielded thoughtlessly until such a time comes that we're faced with the unprecedented threat. And he therefore says, it's ironically, I never thought I would see that you will be the major threat. And we have to it that Diane asks Merlin about this sword and says, why are the kings chosen by the holy sword in the first place? And Merlin explains that the holy sword began as a sword with no magic power at all. Like, it was just a blank sword. And it was all given to a human swordsman by a certain princess of a certain spring. Which I believe we know who could be that is, unless you know the Arthur legends. And we have to it that the first person who held that holy sword was actually the war king Carfin, as the master swordsman. He was a brave human who fought against the demon clan no matter what, but eventually he met his untimely death. But when he was on the brink of death, he cleansed the sword with his own blood and soul somehow, and instead of it rusting due to the blood, it only gotten stronger and sharper by inheriting its essence, which is really, really surprising because after that happened, it ends up passed on to another human hero who was known to be feared by the demon clan. And he faced with the untimely death, and he did the same thing by cleansing the sword with his blood and soul and entrusted to his successor. Eventually, it kept going for countless millennia. The souls within the innumerable heroes dwell within the sword. Every human hero passing everything on for the sake of the next hero. The sum of this shared will across the span of time gave birth to the Holy Sword. At some point, the Holy Sword will begin to choose its wielder on its own, deciding whether or not a person was worth of leading others and of wielding the sword. And we get to a scene switch where Arthur takes on both Meliodas and Zeldris at the same time, and Arthur manages to push Zeldris away and managed to land a clean hit on Meliodas and push him back. And therefore Merlin explains that a child has been chosen and Arthur has been acknowledged by the heroes of Britannia's history, and he is known to be the king among kings. So yeah, pretty much overall this chapter explains about like Arthur's being chosen by the Holy Sword and able to like hold his own against two masters of Zeldris and Meliodas, and manages to like push Zeldris and Meliodas back, which is pretty shocking and surprising. And I can see a lot of people complaining about this because Cusack and Chandler are known to be overpowered demons that trained Meliodas and Zeldris, and to think Meliodas and Zeldris is being pushed back by Arthur is pretty upsetting. I seen some comments where a lot of people are pretty upset about this, and I can understand why. But another thing too is what I try to understand here as well is that the Holy Sword has been like delved in blood and soul by whoever held that sword before their death. Like, the first one who held it was King Carfin, and he was celebrated as a master swordsman. Before he died, he cleansed that sword with his soul and blood so it could be passed down to his successor. And that kept going on and on and on and on and on and on for like a millennia or so. And that's why the Holy Sword is really strong where it is present day with Arthur. Although I think I understand why people are upset, and I can understand that too. I'm pretty upset about it as well, because seeing how Arthur just has a holy sword or something and is able to push back a lot of powerful demons such as Meliodas, Zeldris, and Cusack and Chandler, it's pretty upsetting. I won't deny that. But we have to factor in that we all know Excalibur, okay? We all have to know Excalibur is literally something that no one should be dissing on the legend of Excalibur, okay? We all know the Arthur legends. I'm pretty sure of it. Everyone does. If you don't know the Arthur legends 100%, Well, I guess you may not understand it fully. But yeah. But aside from that, like I said, like when I looked at this chapter and I can understand why people are very upset about it, as I could also agree with them, because Arthur is just a normal human being, and all of a sudden he draws Excalibur as the chosen king of the one who will lead Britannia, and he's somehow beating these demons like it's nothing. I can see a lot of people being upset about that, and I can see that too. I could also agree because like it makes a little bit no sense to see how Excalibur will be that strong. But I think like because of Merlin mentioning this, or how Nakaba Sensei is doing this, is like someone who has been bathing the sword, holy sword Excalibur, with their blood and soul, etc., managing to like get stronger and more sharper and being more deadlier. I guess it makes a little sense to try to like fit it in, and let's not forget that Arthur is literally one of the key things of like facing the demon clan head on. Let's not forget about that. Merlin did mention that like in many chapters ago. Not to mention like the freaking recent anime episode of season 2 of Nanatsu no Taizai. Let's not forget about that. So I guess that makes sense. So pretty much in this chapter overall, I'm telling you, it's just like Arthur taking on Meliodas, Zeldris, and later on bisecting or cutting down like Chandler and Cusack in a matter of seconds, and Arthur holding the holy sword Excalibur and being very strong, and Merlin explaining why she wants to help Arthur as best as she can. And she explains about the holy sword, and one day Arthur will lead Britannia into a great future, and he is the king among kings, etc. So yeah, I can see a lot of people still being upset about it though, because like I'm pretty sure everyone knows that Meliodas and Zeldris have been built up to be very strong. Not to mention Chandler and Cusack. Like, they were masters of those two. So I can understand why it's so upsetting to see a human like Arthur to like take on like these powerful demons and like it's nothing. And I can see a lot of people being upset about that. Like I said, I could agree with them on what they're saying as well, as I am somewhat upset because like Arthur is just a regular human who drew out Excalibur, and he's all of a sudden is able to take all of these like demons on. But because of Excalibur, it's not just some ordinary sword. It has the blood and soul of every hero or human hero who has wielded that sword, and it's been bathed in its blood and soul. So pretty much Arthur is not alone on this one overall. So I think it makes a little sense right now, because like because since Arthur is holding Excalibur or something, or the holy sword Excalibur or holy sword, Arthur is not fighting alone on this one. All the techniques that every human hero possessed that sword and later on bathed it with their own blood and soul, it's helping Arthur out a bit to handle the demon clan at bay, especially the high elite ones. So it actually makes a little sense, because if these human heroes actually fought the demon clan with their own swordsmanship and techniques, etc., and they bathed it with their soul and blood, along with it getting stronger and sharper with every human swordsman or hero bathing its soul and blood, making it stronger and sharper and inheriting its essence, I guess it makes a little sense. But it's still a little upsetting for a lot of people, but I seem to get the reason. But yeah, so overall, like I guess I seem to get the idea why people are upset, especially me a little bit. But because after what this chapter is shown, and because we know the Arthur legends to Excalibur and Merlin, it has to like flow a bit, etc. And I'm pretty sure humans cannot be underestimated that badly. That's another thing. Not to mention the heroes who held that holy sword, who had the swordsmanship and strength to actually take on the demon clan. I guess it makes I think it does make sense. But the holy sword, Excalibur, that on the other hand, choosing its wielder, that's another thing. But either way, like I said, I think this chapter has its ways with people not liking it and people liking it. And I think, on the other hand, I'm trying to make sense of it. I'm pretty sure you guys know what I'm talking about. But yeah. Overall, I thought the chapter was pretty cool and not too bad. Looking forward to the next one. The next chapter is titled like the piercing holy sword. So it looks like to me we might see what this holy sword might be capable of. But let's not forget, Meliodas can't die. He's immortal, obviously. So even if Arthur did deliver a killing blow, it's not going to kill Meliodas, even if he even tries to kill him. And Estarosa's not around either, so we don't really know where he's at, but who knows. So until then, I'll see you guys in my next video. So I'm off for Zoro, people. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time, alright? Peace out. Bye-bye. Toot-toot-toot!